All right, let's talk about hiring. How you find people really depends on who you're looking for. And today, we're going to break down two totally different but equally brilliant playbooks for building a team. One from the world of tech and the other from hospitality.
So let's just start with a question to get our heads in the right space. What do you think is a bigger challenge? Is it that intense, super focused hunt for one single genius-level AI engineer? Or is it the massive logistical puzzle of hiring 1,000 solid, reliable baristas to staff new cafes all over the country? The answer isn't so obvious because they're just fundamentally different problems to solve.
And these different problems, well, they've led to two very distinct hiring playbooks. On one side, we've got what we'll call the specialist hunt, and on the other, the volume game. Each one is a masterclass in its own way, and we're about to see what happens when we put them head to head.
Okay, so this lays it out perfectly. Tech hiring is like a surgical strike, right? It's all about precision, depth, finding that one perfect candidate with a super rare skill set. Hospitality, though, that's more like a high-speed casting call. The main goal is to fill a ton of roles and do it fast and efficiently. It's a game of speed and scale.
So how do these different mindsets actually play out in the real world? Let's start right at the top of the funnel, how you find and filter people. This is where the two playbooks really start to go in opposite directions.
The tech playbook is famous, or maybe infamous, for what I call the gauntlet. It's this super meticulous, multi-stage process that's designed to test a candidate from every possible angle. You start with this incredibly detailed job description, then move to very targeted sourcing, and then you kick off a whole series of increasingly tough assessments and interviews. The whole point is to eliminate risk and be absolutely certain about their skills.
And this just brilliantly shows the difference in the tools they use. Tech is all about hands-on, deep dive stuff. Like, can you actually code this thing live? Can you design this complex system? Meanwhile, hospitality is dealing with a flood of applicants, so they lean hard on tech to be efficient. AI chatbots handle the first wave of questions, automated systems schedule interviews, and they cast this giant net across every social media platform you can think of to build a massive pool of candidates.
Okay, so with such different ways of doing things, how do they even measure success? You can't use the same scoreboard for two totally different games. Let's dig into the key performance indicators, or KPIs, that tell them if they're actually winning. One of the most important numbers in any hiring process is time to hire. It's pretty much a pure measure of your efficiency. If your time to hire is too long, you could be losing your best candidates to competitors who move faster. And that's a huge problem, whether you're hiring a developer or a barista. And calculating it is actually super simple. It's just the number of days between the very first time you talk to a candidate and the day they officially accept your offer. This one little number can tell you so much about the speed and health of your entire hiring machine.
This table just puts everything into perspective. For tech, the holy grail is quality of hire. They're willing to take up to 30 days to get it right, and they're shooting for an offer acceptance rate over 85% because, let's face it, finding another top candidate is really hard. Hospitality, it's all about speed and volume. As fast as possible is pretty much the mantra. And you can see, even though they both care a lot about early turnover, their strategies for finding people, deep, targeted networks versus a huge multi-channel blast, are just worlds apart.
Now, it doesn't matter how you hire someone. The job is not done when they sign that offer letter. Those first 90 days are absolutely critical. This is where a massive amount of employee turnover happens. And you know what's interesting? This is where the two playbooks actually start to look a lot more alike.
The benchmark for excellence, the number everyone is chasing, especially in tech, is keeping your 90-day attrition rate. That's the percentage of people who leave within the first 3 months below 10%. If you can hit this number, it means your hiring process and your onboarding are working together beautifully. Honestly, it's a goal every single industry should be aiming for.
So, how do you actually get to that number? Well, hospitality has pretty much perfected a scalable onboarding system. This means using digital platforms for all the boring paperwork, hosting big group welcome sessions to build a sense of community, and giving everyone standardized training. But there are two tactics that are universal: setting up a mentorship program and scheduling regular check-ins. These things make new hires feel supported and valued from day one. Hospitality also has a secret weapon for both finding people and keeping them, their existing employees. They figured out a long time ago that the best way to find more great people is to activate the great people you already have.
And they don't just ask nicely, they put their money where their mouth is. Just look at these real-world examples. We're talking cash bonuses just for referral, and then even bigger payouts if that new hire actually sticks around for a few months. This basically turns their entire workforce into a recruiting engine, and it brings in candidates who are already vouched for by someone you trust. It's brilliant.
Okay, so you've got your hiring playbook down. But what happens when the company starts to grow? A hiring model that works for 10 people is going to break when you try to hire 1,000. So for our final section, let's look at how these different philosophies shape the way companies grow. The contrast here is just fascinating. An ed tech company, a classic tech world example, usually scales in phases, or sequentially. First, you build the core team to make the product, then you hire a sales team to sell it, then you add more tech to support that growth. It's very methodical, very step-by-step. A franchise, on the other hand, like a giant coffee chain, scales in parallel. The goal there is to create a perfectly replicable system, from hiring to making the coffee, that can be copied in hundreds of places at once, all while keeping the brand perfectly consistent.
So what's the big takeaway here? Well, whether you're on the hunt for that one perfect specialist or you're casting a wide net for 1,000 new team members, there are lessons to be learned from the other side. Tech could definitely learn from hospitality's speed and efficiency, while hospitality could adopt tech's deep focus on data and quality. As hiring gets tougher and more complex, maybe the winning strategy isn't to just pick one playbook, but to build a new one by stealing the very best pages from both. Thanks for tuning in.